5-Round MMA.
A different view to MMA.
Gotta watch that 5-round MMA.
Welcome everyone, this is 5-Round MMA. My name is Alex, alongside with Albert. Alex Ramirez, Albert Machida here. We've got a great show for you today. We are missing Mr. Machida, who we're a little late night recording here on the West Coast.
It's due to Royal Rumble.
Due to Royal Rumble here. So we're going to talk about Ronda Rousey on this week's show. Made her WWE debut, professional wrestling debut. Talk about Jacare getting back on the middleweight contender list. Stipe versus DC, champion versus champion, and Nate Diaz versus the world, and our boy Little Machida is back in action this week as well too. So a lot to talk about. So let's start with round number one. Albert, got the timer going for me?
Boom.
So UFC Charlotte took place this past weekend. Derek Brunson took on Jacare in the main event, a crucial middleweight bout. It ended in the first round with Jacare a head
Just
kick.
the way I think I saw it. I didn't see the head kick coming, but I knew that Jacare was going to make fast work.
It was a head kick followed by a few strikes, and that was it. That's all she wrote. Jacare is now. I'm going to ask you the question. Is Jacare the number one contender? Middleweight championship?
I think he's clearly the number one contender. People forget that even though he was coming off of a loss, it was questionable, because Yoel Romero got caught.
Yeah.
And whenever somebody gets caught, you got to question every victory.
Yeah.
And with that said, I think Jacare was on a tear before losing to Yoel Romero. So I think he's the clear number one contender. I don't see how anybody else can jump the line from Jacare.
Well, it said jump in line. How about I throw a name at you, Kevin Gastelum?
Dang.
This is a guy who was a little upset that Robert Whittaker and Luke Rockhold got the nod. Luke Rockhold got the role against Robert Whittaker, and I think there's supposed rumor going around that Yoel Romero, his manager, said that Kevin Gastelum refused to fight him.
I don't believe that.
So that's that's probably the one guy off the top of my head is one guy maybe
that could steal the show.
And unless you don't want to burn your contenders like they did when Michael Bisping was a champion, they burned through all of them, and the Jacare kind of go back up it again. So Jacare versus Gastelum, is that kind of good?
Yeah, I like that matchup. I know that today there's a post that Robert Whittaker was starting to train again. So who knows when he'll be ready. So, I don't want to throw the interim thing out there.
Don't throw it.
But it's just tough to not throw it out there.
Yeah.
But I do think Kevin Gastelum should stay active, but it's tough because he's there too. And honestly, I don't think we're gonna get a clear picture until we see the Luke Rockhold fight.
And you still got Chris Weidman out there too, and he's kind of
who has a win over Kevin Gastelum.
Yeah, but he's not really petitioning himself, is he out there? Like
no,
he should. I think he should.
I think he understands that. Look, he just had a couple brutal losses with Luke Rockhold and Yoel Romero.
Yeah, and a win over a smaller middleweight.
Yeah,
get the job done.
And so I just think he knows that he has to prove that he is, the former champion.
Yeah.
And I see him calling out Jacare, to tell you the truth, just to show everybody that he's still one of the elite fighters.
Yeah, maybe if he can have the Jacare versus Weidman either close to the Robert Whittaker, Luke Rockhold fight, or have either one of, or Yoel Romero now, have one of them kind of just step up that way, because you never know what's going to happen. Maybe they're just kind of keeping fresh out there to see what can happen, because you never know if Rockhold might get hurt, Romero might get hurt, then you have no middleweight champion at all. So yeah, I think like I said, we talked about this last week with the middleweight universe being kind of set now that Michael Bisping, the eclipse of Michael Bisping is gone now. The cream is rising to the crop. These guys are, the world's kind of set now. They're all kind of lining themselves up to whether you see like Rockhold, Romero, Jacare, Weidman, and Gastelum. They're all kind of lining up as they are now, as opposed to Michael Bisping just picking and choosing his own contenders here now. So now we're seeing these guys are going to, the cream of the crops in the middle is going to is rising, and they're going to fight each other.
I'm really excited with all the potential matchups up there. And like you said, Kevin Gastelum puts probably the most interesting factor in there. Because even let's say you match him up against Jacare, man, what an amazing fight that would be, because Kevin Gastelum's strongest point is the ground. But you don't want to go in the ground with Jacare.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he has some deadly hands. Jacare has some deadly hands.
Yeah.
So that makes it for an interesting fight. There's tons of matchup, and Bronson's not completely out.
Yeah, he's always in there too.
And what about my boy, the old World Series of Fighting fighter,
David Branch?
David Branch.
That was Guillermo's boy. That was your boy?
Nah, he's my boy now too.
So yeah, UFC Charlotte. This is like a decision-heavy card, man. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 finishes, and 2 of them were on the UFC Fight Pass app.
Yeah.
A lot of them were decisions. Not too many needle movers on
for
this
some
card.
reason, I feel like Fox is like
They got like a jinx. Like,
yeah, they're ever since, you know who put it on it too? Cain Velasquez put that jinx on them.
Yeah.
By losing the fight in like 10, 20 seconds.
Or do you think, I know like I'm going conspiracy theory here. Aren't they in negotiations with the UFC?
Yeah.
Do you think it like Dana White and Sean Shelby are purposely giving them kind of subpar cards and kind of stacking it for the pay-per-views for themselves? Because like, remember when it was a big deal that they're on Fox.
But,
now it's not a big deal anymore.
yeah,
because they're on broadcast television. But nobody cares
at the same
now.
time, doesn't that hurt them? Because if the ratings are low, because this past this event
Yeah.
was one of the lowest ratings they ever had.
can you blame
and
them,
so,
though? Look at this
yeah,
card.
but how do you bring that into negotiations? How do you
Yeah.
tell the other networks like, hey, we bring this to the table, and then when they're like, okay, you're getting the lowest ratings,
Yeah.
who know? You're only as good as the matchup. How do you know they're gonna give them the matchups and still putting them on people?
Well, we got this guy here called Mighty Mouse. We'll show him on every free card you can. That's it for round number one. We're going to come back and talk about champion versus champion and how this is going to fit in the MMA UFC universe coming up next. So don't go anywhere. Time for round number two. So the big news that was unveiled last week was after like a short round of rumors, Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier, champion versus champion, going to happen in July. International Fight Week for UFC. Heavyweight bout is on the heavyweight title is on the line. When I saw this, I wasn't too surprised, but then like it's processed. And like I'm kind of thinking all the factors. This is a pretty big deal. I'm actually surprised this really happened. So
I think it's a huge deal.
Your initial reaction when you first saw it, and then now that it's kind of had time to marinate. What are your thoughts on this champion versus champion come July?
You know what's funny? The first thought I ever got, I was kind of irritated.
Okay.
Just because, like, don't get me wrong, I love the matchup. I can't wait to see it. But I'm just irritated that now we get these matchups. You get me?
Yeah.
For the longest time, how much did we want to see Anderson Silva versus John Jones when they were champions?
Or GSP.
How long did we want to see, or GSP, or John Jones, test the waters in heavyweight?
Yeah.
I always want to see how he would do in heavyweight. And now that, pretty much they have, I don't know the word you want to use, but there's no more interesting matchups in the division.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what we talked about in the last podcast was the light heavyweight and the heavyweight division.
Dance partners.
Don't have enough dance partners
Yeah.
to make a good matchup. So this is technically the biggest match you can do in both divisions.
Yeah.
And so it only made sense to me. But I'm excited for the fight, whatever. I'm just a little bit annoyed that it takes this long, or we have to really like drain the division to get these super fights. When we could have had these awesome fights for like 5 years in a row.
Yeah, I know. Well, like I think as of right now, this year 2018 is kind of shaping up to be a champion versus champion. So we have this one already slotted. The strong rumor of Mighty Mouse, a flyweight champion versus bantamweight champion TJ Dillashaw, and also the strong rumor of Cyborg, the women's featherweight champion, going against Amanda Nunes, the women's bantamweight champion. And that's not even saying. So those are like strong rumors going to happen.
And if you hit the dirt sheets,
Yeah.
supposedly,
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar versus John Jones.
If that comes
and
back,
I think that's a super fight. And I think that's champion versus champion because you have the WWE champion and the lightweight champion
the Universal champion.
Yeah, and the light heavyweight champion who never lost the belt.
Beat.
So that's champion versus
So I can also want
there.
to bring it back here to American Kickboxing kind of AKA. And what if Luke Rockhold wins the middleweight title against Yo Romero? And
I think Cain Velasquez goes for it.
Somehow defeats. That was my next theory here. There's a rumor going out there that Cain Velasquez is eyeing a drop down to 205, and that's why DC got his blessing to go up to back up to heavyweight. So do you kind of see that?
Yeah. So I see it in two ways. The first one, which is the most logical one, the one that's going to be a crazy theory.
Yeah.
The first logical thing is like they made the decision that Cain would be heavyweight and DC would be light heavyweight. But I think they both have the same type of body structure and almost the same cut almost.
Yeah.
That they reach a point where, okay, guess what? DC's older now, and it's only fair that now Cain does the cut and DC doesn't have to. Almost like a trade-off. Now it's your turn to cut, and now I get a relaxed kind of thing. That's to me seems the most logical thing that they talked about and decided that's the best route to take. Second of all, I honestly think that there is a bounty on Luke Rockhold's head for jumping camp, for technically leaving AKA, and guess who wants to cash in that bounty?
Cain Velasquez.
Cain Velasquez wants it because DC still has a warm place in his heart for Luke Rockhold, and he just can't do it. But you know who could do it?
Cain Velasquez.
Cain Velasquez.
The Terminator, Cain
The
Velasquez.
Terminator,
Yeah, because he's a kind of wild card here. He's the one who kind of left AKA and kind of like, he doesn't even come out and say it, but I guess there is bad blood there. So what if he wins the middleweight championship and goes up and challenges like DC for the lightweight, or goes up to lightweight and all of a sudden?
I think he challenges Cain Velasquez, and I'm even bold to say if Luke Rockhold gets an impressive win, beats Yoel Romero, and Cain Velasquez announces 205, I think he shows him at 205, like he debuts him in 205.
You know, it's funny. I just realized here, no disrespect to the current heavyweight champion, but we haven't talked about him once this whole round, and he's the current. It almost happened like Francis. It's like when it was announced that he's going to fight Francis Ngannou. The story was around Francis. The story here is around DC going down. And what about Kane? What about his camp here? What about Stipe? Just take them all comers. Take them all.
Yeah,
I'm a fighting champion. There's rumor here. There's rumor here now. He's having negotiations with the UFC. So like we saw what happened to him. He took the belt from Daniel White. I want my coach to put the belt around me. So there's still a little bit of bad blood there. So I mean,
if I was Stipe, I will go. I'll take on all newcomers. I don't care who it is. Whoever wants him can give him against him, because I think he's in the driver's seat and he can do whatever he wants. To tell the honest truth. But I will say this crazy thing before we leave. If Cain Velasquez drops down to 205, you know that he would technically in WWE be a cruiserweight.
God, it's a ridiculous world of pro wrestling. Speaking of pro wrestling, I think Stipe should just go full Stone Cold. And like have Dana White be the Vince McMahon. You just go
flip them off,
drink beers, drink Coors Light instead of Bud Light in the octagon.
Stipe shirt.
Just go full out, man. You don't need Dana White. That's it for round number 2. We're gonna keep our conversation going and keeping the wrestling world. Ronda Rousey debuting at the WWE Royal Rumble this past weekend as well. And I tell you, if it's a big deal in the MMA world or just kind of Rousey kind of going into the sunset, it should be never be thought of again in the MMA world. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Time for round number 3. Former UFC bantamweight champion, WMMA pioneer Ronda Rousey made her professional wrestling debut this past Sunday at the WWE Royal Rumble, where she really didn't do much. She just kind of came out and pointed and shook somebody's hand, and that was about it. But it's a big deal. ESPN covered it. ESPN was the first to report that she received a full-time contract with the WWE. She's anticipated to make her Royal Rumble, her professional wrestling debut, in-ring debut, I guess, at WrestleMania sometime in March or April or whenever that. I'm not too sure when it is. It was expected. The rumors were that she was training. Not just a matter of time when she was going to debut. The wrestling dirt sheets for you non-wrestling fans out there. So is this kind of a big deal? Is this a huge loss to the mixed martial arts world? ESPN asked her, and she said, well, about coming back to MMA. And she said, well, you never know. Like, but I mean, come on now.
No, I don't think. I think this is one of those things where it was a natural transition.
Yeah.
I think she did everything there is to do in women's MMA, regardless of how she left her career.
Yeah.
You got to say the only reason there is a women's division is because of her. She made it. She was the one that made it popular what it is today. She's the one that pretty much set the bar. And honestly, she has nothing to prove. Even with how bad the 2 losses were, she absolutely has nothing to prove. And I think it's just an easy transition because she's still going to be a high performance athlete, right? And then she's still going to make that dollars. She's still going to keep the fame, the exposure. So I think it's just a natural transition, and there's nothing to be ashamed about. I think it's just one of those things where you got to close the chapter and then open up the new one and not look back.
Yeah, I don't think MMA fans should mourn the loss of Ronda Rousey going to professional wrestling. I think, as much as she's done, like, I mean, I do have issues with her, like when she had the slightest hinkling of a competition. She's completely bolted out and didn't really act like a champion to me. That's the thing I have a problem with. At least in professional wrestling, now she'd be protected, so she's always going to look strong no matter what. So, I mean, she's going to win every match possible. But, I mean, thanks to her, we get to see awesome fighters like Joanna Champion, Amanda Nunes, all these great fighters, Rose Namajunas, thanks to Ronda Rousey. And that's something every fan should be grateful for. She opened the floodgates for these
every woman in combat
for these true champions who stick around and defend. And, if when they lost, they come back. I'm going to go on a Ronda Rousey tangent, but I think it's not a huge loss for the mixed martial arts world. People are expected, and then if I were an MMA fan, I don't think I would want Ronda Rousey to come back anyways. Yeah, it's kind of like Brock Lesnar. You don't need Brock Lesnar to come back anyways. The sport is going to evolve. Women's mixed martial arts has already evolved past Ronda Rousey. Even if she were to come back, who would she fight? There's nobody she could fight anyways. All the women currently right now in the 135 division in the top 5 could probably all beat her. And it's a smart transition now. It's a business move. She's probably making a multi-million-dollar contract. She's not going to be on the road 365 in professional wrestling. No. They're going to make her look strong. I mean, wrestling, as much as they are athletes, it's showbiz. It's a television show, so they're going to make her look good. She's going to have the best lighting. She's not going to look weak in any match at all. So, hey, Ronda Rousey, more power to you, man. Or woman. Yeah.
And it brings me to two things. One, going back to MMA, she has everything to lose. That's what sucks. Like, she's in a position, if she ever goes back to fighting, she has everything to lose and only a little bit to gain. Yeah. Like, let's say she goes back and wins a big fight. Like, everybody already thought you were amazing. Yeah. You already did all the accomplishments.
Congratulations, you beat Bench Go again.
But if you lose, man, does that set you back a lot? Yeah. So there's just too much to lose to go back. And then the second thing I was gonna say was, I honestly think she's being a revolution a person again. I think she's opening the door and setting the pace where MMA and WWE are start getting married with each other. Yeah. Where when we get these entertaining, charismatic fighters who are reaching a point of their combat career where they just can't take more punishment, or they already put too many miles as far as combat in them, and they still want to perform in a high athletic field. Yeah, it's a perfect way, and I really do think she's going to be the start of a lot of MMA fighters when they reach a point where they're like, you know what, it's time to hang the gloves. But guess what? I love competition. I love being an athlete.
Performing.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Performing,
in that high level.
Yeah.
I think it'll be an easy transition. I can easily see DC making the jump.
Well, as of right now, we have guys like Bobby Lashley, Matt Riddle. If you guys are anything to professional wrestling at all, this guy's tearing up in the independent circuit. Lesnar, obviously. Josh Barnett does wrestling on the side when he's not commentating, do whatever he does. I really do hope Ronda Rousey kind of also could influence some of mixed martial arts into professional wrestling, because it's really hard as a lifelong wrestling fan to go to the MMA and then switch back over to wrestling and not just question everything I'm watching in wrestling. Like, we see what a head kick can do to somebody in mixed martial arts, but then you see a guy in professional wrestling take like 11 head kicks and still like function and still win the match.
You know what annoys me is when they try a rear naked choke. Yeah. But then they have to switch into that weird like arm. Yeah. I forget what's it called. But I'm always like, there has to be a way they can do like a rear naked choke and just not apply pressure, right? And then just make the other guy sell it. Yeah. Why don't they just do that? Because obviously we all see MMA, and that's how you do a rear naked choke.
Yeah, and we've seen like
same thing with an arm bar.
What I don't want to see is Ronda Rousey lock in an arm bar like to somebody in the WWE and then like hold it for like 30 seconds to try to sell it. Because we've seen her just sink that arm bar, and 2 seconds later they're tapping out, right? Yeah. That's like one of my biggest pet peeves at professional wrestling, was like when a submission move is locked in and the guys are just kind of trying to push out of it or like kind of get out of
grab it or like
like just screaming
you can't be fully stretching take it for 30,
and then like exactly we see jiu-jitsu so evolved now where we see the slightest choke is the toughest guys in the world. When they get the choke in there or an arm bar or knee bar, they tap out because it hurts. And hopefully she kind of brings that in, and hopefully the other wrestlers embrace that kind of style to make it a little more realistic and not as, I guess, I don't know, not as unbelievable as professional wrestling has gotten the past couple years.
You know what I hope that leads to real quick too? Less punches. Because I get irritated when The Miz comes out there, throws 50 punches, and somehow that's a match. Yeah. It's like in real life, bro, if you throw some punches and you land a clean shot.
Aren't being defended properly.
Yeah, something's going to happen.
The fight is stopped. Yeah. Well, it's like, we're still on this right tangent, but you said, if wrestlers out there, wrestling fans out there, the Wrestle Kingdom, you said they incorporated a kind of submission moves and mixed martial arts in some of the matches, right? Some of the finishes.
That's why I love Japan. A lot of submissions were real submissions that you'll see in MMA. And then same thing, if someone does a hard head kick or a punch, they sell it like they got socked in the face, they got kicked, and they don't do multiple kicks or whatever. Yeah. So
hopefully, like I said, Ronda Rousey, good for her. I mean, she's making millions of dollars, and hopefully she can incorporate some of the MMA style into the American wrestling now. That's it for round number 3. We went over. We're going to take a small break and come back and enter the championship rounds next. Welcome back. Let's enter the championship round. So we're going to do something like very, very difficult. We're going to try to make sense out of something one of the Diaz brothers said.
I do not have my Cholo 101 book.
Cholo 101. you know, bust open your cranium right now.
I'll try my hardest to translate to the people.
Yeah.
I did grow up in a ghetto neighborhood, I guess you can call it, in a very gangster, whatever. So I can translate a little bit.
So over the years, I've become endeared to the Diaz brothers for their honesty, and everything they said kind of happens, right?
You gotta give them that.
Yeah,
they keep it 100.
They're consistent. They've been consistent since day one. They haven't changed.
They're not fake. I'll tell you that right now.
So like,
they're
you know
100% not
I
fake.
respect both
brothers
those guys.
are the most realest fools you can.
But
come across.
Sometimes when they talk and they tweet, I'm like, what? So every once in a while, Nate Diaz will disappear, and then he'll go on like on a social media spree where he'll like post a bunch of pictures like in a row, or then he'll tweet a bunch of stuff out. You know, most recently, kind of like, was it the most recent one? Say, hey, don't come at me with that BS offer. I'll come back when it's real, or something like that. And then I think some of his fellow lightweights were kind of saying, hey, you know what? Eddie Alvarez particularly, hey, let's do it. And then, you know,
even Kevin Lee.
Yeah, Kevin Lee said, let's do it. And then Nate Diaz has been kind of, you know, either throwing shit at him, saying, nah, you know, I'm waiting for big money. And then Eddie Alvarez finally say, hey, you know what, man? Like, what if you want Conor, come out and say you want Conor. Don't be all like cryptic and say, you know, but if you don't want,
you're saying these lightweights.
Yeah, these lightweights. You're
saying I want Conor.
Yeah, Eddie Alvarez had a really good take. Say, hey, you know what? We're trying to get you a job, man. We're trying to work with you here. And if you're not willing to do that, you know, then screw off and screw you. So what's your kind of take on what do you think Nate Diaz is trying to do here? And what are your thoughts on Eddie Alvarez's like rebuttal to it all? You think, is he still trying to get Conor, or was he trying to get attention? Or
no, like I do honestly think that Nate Diaz doesn't want anybody to forget who he is.
Yeah.
Because I feel I get it. He beat Conor McGregor, but he's kind of like an afternote.
Yeah.
You get me? Like, not people don't really give him credit for that win. And
well, the UFC doesn't give him credit for that win. So.
And I get it that he gets overlooked all the time because no one sees him as the guy that beat Conor. More like he was just a road bump for Conor.
Such a big fighter.
Yeah.
Such a huge fighter. Conor was so small in that fight.
And I get it. I get that aspect of it. But at the same time, I mean, props to Eddie Alvarez. He's keeping it. If anyone else is keeping it real, it's Eddie Alvarez.
Yeah.
And it's true. If you want Conor McGregor, say you want Conor McGregor, but don't say nobody wants to fight him. When clearly Kevin Lee stepped up, Eddie Alvarez said he'll get some too if he wants. And so the fights are out there. And for him to say that these aren't money fights, maybe he still has like the dollar amount that he wants against Conor in his head. But you're gonna tell me that the hardcore MMA fans aren't gonna watch the Kevin Lee Nate Diaz fight? Dude, they'll line up for that.
That's a good gate right there.
The Eddie Alvarez one, I think that's an overall high caliber matchup. I think a lot of people know who Eddie Alvarez now outside the MMA community. And everybody knows who Nate Diaz is.
Yeah.
So I don't understand what he's saying either. And you can, if he really wants that money, just like Michael Bisping, they just stack the card.
Yeah.
Stack the card, share the pay-per-view numbers.
Have your brother come out of retirement.
Exactly.
Do that.
Yeah. So in a way, like I get where Nate's coming from. Because it is BS that he kind of is a footnote in Conor McGregor's chapter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Eddie Alvarez is 100% right. You want, say what you want or don't say anything.
Yeah. And that's kind of, like, I wonder like exactly how much the UFC is offering, because every time because no, I'm out of here, I'm going to boxing, or this is a BS offer. Like, is it really that low? You think?
I don't know. I doubt it. I highly doubt that's that low.
Just not $20 million.
It's just not Conor McGregor money. And he thinks he deserves it because he beat Conor. But at the same time, when I get irritated when he says, "Oh, I'm gonna go to boxing." Who's gonna fight you? Canelo ain't gonna fight you. Paul Maldonado. Manny Pacquiao's not gonna fight. You're not gonna bring any numbers with that guy. You know what I'm saying? All the big names that are gonna give you that big paycheck that you think you can get, they're not gonna fight you. It's just that simple. It really is. Unless he starts, hustling out there or whatever. But I think I honestly think he can make decent money with Eddie Alvarez and Kevin Lee.
This kind of reminds me of like one of my favorite like kind of
and you got to put in the time to get the big matchups too.
It's kind of reminds me of one of my favorite hipster songs out there for you Bright Eyes fans out there. that little song he says, "I'd rather be working for a paycheck than waiting to win the lottery." It's kind of like Nate Diaz. You want to wait to win the lottery again for Conor McGregor to come out? Or you want to work for a paycheck, homie? Like, what do you want to do? And it seems like you got these workhorses like Kevin Lee and Eddie Alvarez who are working for their money. Yeah. And Eddie Alvarez had his shot at McGregor. He got his big payday, but he's been working since then. He hasn't called out McGregor since then. It's like two options: you want to work for your money, or you want to wait for that big old jackpot.
Exactly.
And then maybe Nate Diaz, you know what? I've worked for so many years. Like I finally got that jackpot. I want another taste again. But I mean, man, just be like, you know what?
Gotta put in the grind.
Now, especially nowadays, the way UFC is, you gotta put in that money, man. It's not unless you're Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey, or Brock. Or John Jones, you're not getting any favoritism at all from any of these guys. So that's it for round number 4. We're going to come back at one final round, talk about I think, because this would be the beginning of the end for Lyoto Machida coming up next, guys. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Time for the 5th and final round, UFC Fight Night.
Thank you, Cena. You ruined the 5th round.
Lyoto Machida versus Eric Anders is going to take place on February 3rd in Paris, Belém, Brazil. I believe it's going to be on the UFC Fight Night, right? Fox Sports, I believe. This isn't a
it's clearly
Fight
not
Pass.
pay-per-view.
Yeah, but it's not a Fight Pass. It's on Fox Sports 1 with the prelims, early prelims taking place at the UFC Fight Pass. Eric Anders was victorious not that long ago. He was last victorious December 9th, where he defeated Marcus Perez in unanimous decision. They asked him, "Who do you guys want?" He said, "I actually want Lyoto Machida in Brazil," and it happened.
That's a smart thing.
He said in February too. I want it in February. Lyoto Machida in Brazil.
Yeah.
It happened.
You guys ever want.
I wonder who Eric Anders knows in the UFC. Say, hey, let's make it happen. So for Eric Anders, he's a former football player. He's 10-0 in the professional mixed martial arts. He is 30. He got started late in mixed martial arts. His first professional bout was 2 years ago, or 3 years ago now, 2015, 2.5 years ago, August 2015. And this guy is wasting no time. Obviously, he's an athlete. He obviously sees that, you know what, I'm 30 years old. I just got started. Let me get these big boys now, right?
Yeah. And I think it's a dangerous, smart move.
Yeah.
It's smart because Lyoto Machida is obviously on the way down.
On the decline.
Yeah, he's on the decline right now, and so it's a good place to catch him. And at the same time, it's dangerous because Lyoto Machida, despite his terrible losses he's had, he's still one of the most deadliest guys out there as far as his fighting style, because you have to figure it out before you can put him away. You got to figure it out first.
Yeah.
And he's just so fast at middleweight. I think the speed is still there. It was just those minor things that kind of catch him all the time. But it's a good way to show where I think he's at, because you have to have a lot of MMA knowledge in order to compete against Machida. And again, I think it's more in danger because Machida's on the decline.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous because he's still Machida's Machida.
Yeah, obviously the physical skill set alone of Eric Anders has gotten this far, right?
Now let's
kind of see if the mental game is kind of caught up. Real quick, I'm gonna throw you a question. What year did Lyoto Machida last get a win?
It was on my birthday, around my birthday, I know that. And I'm going to say 2016.
Nah, 2014. Damn. He actually missed all 16 because he was suspended.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
That was CB Dalloway. And before that was his loss to Chris Weidman. So he has like one win in like 4 years coming up now. He's suffered back-to-back losses against Luke Rockhold, Yoel Romero, Derek Randall. They all finishes too. He got choked out by Rockhold, knocked out by Romero and Brunson. So I mean, yeah, if he loses here, it's onto the Bellator Grand Prix, right, for Machida?
Yeah. If he wants to keep fighting, he's on to Bellator. They can build him up because he has a win over the current light heavyweight champion, Ryan Bader. So that'll be a good way to plan. But yep, I honestly think Machida is fighting for his career right here.
Yeah.
He loses this, I don't even care if it's split decision. If it's split decision, he's still. I don't think UFC brings him back.
Yeah, and also
there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way they're gonna bring him back. And I'm the biggest Machida fan, and there's no way they're gonna bring him back. And to be honest, I just wish he wouldn't. At first, I was excited when he made his middleweight debut. Now that I think
he's doing good.
Now that I think about it, I think he should stay in light heavyweight though.
Yeah, but
I like the better in light heavyweight.
It was John Jones. That's why he wasn't going anywhere for that. He got touched
I
up by
still
John
think
Jones.
he could have beat John Jones.
Also,
you should have saw John Jones's face in the first round. He didn't know what was going on
he
in
got
there.
tagged, right? And they figured out they choked him out. Remember? Also on this card, John Dodson versus Pedro Munoz, and then also Valentina Shevchenko is making her flyweight debut against Priscilla Correa.
It's actually a decent fight.
Yeah, actually, Valentina Shevchenko made some news in social media because she actually called out Paige Van Sant. Was supposed to fight Paige Van Sant, and Van Sant and her organization or her representatives say, no, we don't want that fight just now. So now she's fighting in Brazil. People say maybe former champion because she could have defeated Amanda Nunes. I thought she did. I thought the move for Valentina down with a little preemptive. I think a little maybe emotional move. I think.
Yeah.
I think she's still a top contender at bantamweight. I think. You could run that fight back with Amanda Nunes, and it could probably go her way. So, but maybe it's a little emotional move there. Maybe a couple fights here. Maybe she goes back up to 135, or maybe tries to be a double champion. I don't know. But yeah, it's another start. Maybe the UFC didn't stop her. Hey, you know what? We need more people in this division, even though bantamweight is kind of bare right now. It's so bare that they're talking about having her go up to 145 and fight Cyborg Amanda Nunes. And also John Dodson, after how many years now, he just kind of is, right? Just kind of floats around there.
He's in a weird position, and he's in that stage where I don't think he owns a weight class.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's a 125. I don't know if he's a 135.
And either one, he's not really impressed in either one. He should probably just go back to 135. Yeah. Well, that's it. It's going to be Friday.
His fault.
Friday's February 3rd.
So much.
Fox Sports 1, Machida versus Anders. It's going to be a good middleweight bout. We'll see. Changing the guard here. Maybe Anders can crack into the top 15 or top 10 of the middleweight division after this win and get at least another name out there. At least somebody for Derek Brunson to fight.
Yes.
That's it for this week's show. Make sure to keep up with us all week long on Twitter and Instagram at FiveRoundMMA. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Podomac, and YouTube. And visit FiveRoundMMA.com. And I think that's it, right? What do you got?
Just that John Cena's shovel stronger than ever.
Monday Night Raw. Finn Balor. Balor Club dead. See you next week.
Thanks for tuning in.